Donna, of course. That's fine.
Where's Donna? Oh.
Right, so we'll declare the meeting open at 1 o'clock and welcome all council members and staff to the meeting. Also welcome the members of the public that are watching via live stream. Also acknowledging Councillor Burden, being that it's 1 AM in England at the moment and he is present for the meeting. Emma's there. Yes, so welcome everybody. And for the presenters, Tony that's here to present to us shortly. So we'll open with the karakia, and Councillor Neil is to the karakia.
The peace be widespread, and the sea be like greenstone, a pathway for us all this day. Give love, receive love, we can show respect for each other, bind us all together.
Thank you very much. Right, so apologies, we have Councillor Beard, we have Francois Tumahoe. No other apologies. Can I please have a mover and a second to please resolve that the apologies be accepted and received and accepted? Thank you, Councillor Phelps. Councillor Casson, thank you very much. Declarations of interest register is, you've all got that in your teams with the agenda and everything else. Every member must present at a meeting, must declare any member present at a meeting must declare any direct or indirect financial interest that they hold in any matter being discussed at the meeting in accordance with the Local Authorities Members' Interest Act of 1968. So just keep that updated and check back into it every now and again if you don't mind.
Through the chair, just reiterating my conflict of interest for the stuff discussed later on the race course, and there's a new conflict of flux suit, so they'll be updated on the register going forward.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for that. Right, item 4, urgent items not on the agenda. It was down as nil. We do have one, and it is a dog control hearing committee. Is an urgent item that has been added to the agenda. The reason the item is not on the agenda is due to the fact that 1, a situation arose after the agenda was released, and 2, due to the nature of the situation, it requires confidentiality and urgency which cannot be delayed until a later meeting. So if I could please have somebody move and second to resolve that the item be accepted as a late agenda item for the confidential portion of the meeting, please. Councillor Neil, thank you very much. Vote a seconder, please. Sorry, Councillor Glett. Thank you very much for that. Minutes of meetings, the ordinary council meeting minutes of 28 September 2023. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please, and resolve that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on the 28th September 2023 be confirmed as a true and correct record of the meeting?
Yep.
Councillor Casson, mover seconder. Councillor Phelps, thank you very much. And I approve that my digital signature be added to the confirmed ordinary council meeting minutes of 28 September 2023. We have no minutes to be received from any standing committees. So we will proceed through to the action list, and Simon, if you please take us through that.
Good afternoon, councillors, and I think it's almost a year this council has been formed, so here this time a year ago, so you're all brand new. Some of you are probably brand new. I'll take you through the action list one by one. Regards to action number 1, regards to the Whakatara building, council office on Welch Street. We were planning to have a workshop a week ago. This has now been deferred till next week. Work is still underway. We've only just checked the final version this morning in terms of the workshop details, so that'll come next week. Obviously, the Hokitika Government House Fund has been resolved. CBD maintenance, the workshop is held on the 4th of October. Once again, a report will come back to council in terms of future direction on that, with the anticipation that there will be some community engagement following on from a formal report. Hokitika Racecourse Development Project, there was an action from the last meeting to return consulting costs to date. Summarising that at 450, the Josephson Associates component of that is around 282,000. That takes us all the way through to the RFP process. So this is not actually as spent to date. That is spending to the RFP process completed. And of that, about 2/5 of that is claimable under the existing IAF contract, so that can be claimed back under that. The 300k is chargeable to Western District Council, and it aligns with the current LTP business value that we put into the budget back in 2022, the 300,000. Have you taken any questions, Your Worship?
Councillor Collier.
Through the chair, just so the 280, does that fee cover the period from when council agreed for engagement, or does it cover a period prior to that?
This is up to all the previous engagement with Josephson Associates, up to the point of RFP.
So what do you think the figure would be from when we decided to go out for public engagement?
We haven't contracted that work. We have got a service agreement from them in terms of what that looks like. So that's contracted work to date. There is additional work that council's requested us to do in regards to recreational land. So that is contracted at about 115,000 to Josephson Associates to do that piece of work as well. And bear in mind, this work also includes all the work that Douglas Ogilvy had to do, validating the site and the engineering design works for the road and concourse and the water and lighting elements of it as well.
So that 450 includes the total cost since the project was started.
Including costs that we haven't incurred yet, which is future work to the RFP completion.
Paul.
Through your worship. Yeah, my question was partially answered by Simon regarding the extra work for the recreational component. How much of that 115,000 is claimable?
So the expectation that cost will be covered by obviously the other half of the racecourse site in terms of the value that comes out of the development.
Future sales.
Sorry?
Future sales.
Yes. So
But in the meantime, the council carries the can for that.
I promoted that conversation, yeah.
Councillor Wilson, do you still have a question?
No.
No? No? Any further questions for Simon?
I just want to, obviously some councillors highlighted that I hadn't come back quick enough in terms of response regarding consultant fees. Those fees only finalised on Friday last week, and they were an action out of this meeting. So Scott has been working with Josephson Associates to quantify the reclaimable cost primarily. So hence the reason why I couldn't actually send it out, and I was actually away on Friday, so apologies for any wasn't intended to be any misinterpretation, but it was going to come out today anyway.
So that, through your worship, so that will be the total final cost in terms of the consultant, in terms of consulting and engagement and stuff?
No, it won't be. Because obviously once the RFPs come in, there's work to be done around analysing that piece of work as well. We haven't contracted that work at all to date, so we'll need to get a value for that piece of work as well.
So ballpark, if we were to estimate the final costs when we get to the finish line, if you were around near 100,000, would we be saying 5, 6, 7, 8? When would you sort of think
it really depends how much rework is required as well. It's hard to actually put a quantity.
To what level we proceed with any aspect of it or not proceed?
Okay, feel maybe you're another 250 on top potentially without quantifying that in any capacity.
about 7,000 potentially?
Well, that all, bear in mind, there's still obviously costs to go into doing the build as well.
Councillor Casson?
2 points of clarification, Simon, that 115,000 for recreation we spoke about, is that in that 450 or is that outside?
It's on top.
Cool. And second point, in terms of RFP completion and that money taking us to that point, is that contract ready for should things progress, or what does that look like at that point?
That's to go to RFP.
we go to RFP to think, okay,
and do the development of that piece of work. Which is quite a considerable amount of work if anyone's been involved, but obviously going out for reviews is quite significant. We don't have in-house expertise to do it all.
Any further questions? Last one. Oh,
Yeah, through your worship, the later in the agenda, the back of the agenda, a report from on the environmental scan of Western District, which highlights the situation with housing and population, and indicates that the population is forecast to decline by 500 in the next 20 years. Has this been factored into this proposal?
It's talking about this. Today we're only talking about the action of consultants, so I don't, in terms of project.
well, we're not talking about the project, we're talking about the costs of the consultants' fees and so forth to it, as opposed to what you're going to, which is, we can have that discussion
Where's the opportunity to talk about
probably in this afternoon's section with regarding the development
that? There's nothing confidential about it, which
about.
about that report, environmental scans, the population.
Oh, no, I know
It's
that.
forecast to decline by 500 in the next 20 years.
So your point is what? Why are we doing what we're doing?
My question of Chief Executive, has that been factored into this proposal?
Bishop, I think the real test will be the ROI process to see what market says. Really, 'cause we don't know. We don't know.
and to answer your question out of turn, Paul did make that comment around you can follow the curve of trajectory, we can do something to change it. So he has discussed that in this chamber before in front of us, so I dare say it has been taken into consideration.
Well, with respect, I mean, that's come from the consultant. It's not-
Correct, but I'm answering your question because no one else is giving a direct one on it.
But, and also Councillor Gillette has covered that quite well too, as far as, yeah, Bruce is going to be as we progress forward. So
Expensive exercise, potentially.
most exercises are,
If
have a cost.
if the RFI comes back or ROI comes back as it does, then you're $750,000 can basically. But anyway, I'm sure that won't happen.
So if there's nothing further for Simon, can I have somebody please move and second that and resolve that his report be received? Thank you, Councillor Manera. Councillor Phillips, thank you very much. Right, moving on to presentations, and first up we have Tony Hart from the Emergency Management Officer for the West Coast Emergency Management Team. Welcome, Tony.
Good afternoon, councillors and Mayor Lash. I'd just like to extend to you all an invitation to attend Exercise Purnamini, the second half of which is open to councillors, mayors, chairs and other agency personnel. It's on the 14th of November. Activities will be from 1 p.m. to 4:30, and the focus is on understanding statutory requirements and decision-making process when declaring states of emergency, understanding relationships between elected members, controllers and EOC or ECC staff, and it's an opportunity for you to raise questions about civil defence activities and engage with us in a more personal level. Thank you.
All right, so do we need to confirm with you that our attendance?
Yes, please. Yeah, if you could just email me, that would be.
Through the chair, it can go through Diane directly or through to Tony directly, by the way, coordinator.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tony, very much for that. I know Ashley and I will certainly be there, and other councillors, if you can let Di know about your attendance, please, and she can get that back to Tony, so that he has a fairly good notice of it, please, and preferably before the start of November. Right, can I have somebody please move and second and resolve that the verbal presentation from Tony Hart, West Coast Emergency Management, be received? Thank you, Councillor Kisson. Councillor Neal, thank you very much. Right, moving on to Western Holdings year-end results, and welcome to the team, and we've got quite a team here today. So welcome everybody, nice to see you all here. And Joanne, if you'd like to get the ball rolling with the report, please.
So we've had 3 presentations, one from Westroads, one from Destination Westland, and one from Westland Holdings. And doing the presentation for Westroads is Mark Rogers and Pierre Carpenter, you'll know. So at the AGM yesterday, Mark has now been appointed as the chair of Westroads. So Mark, I'll leave with you.
Thank you, Mayor and councillors. Now I think Joey stole my first slide, so we'll just move on from that. But our other directors are Ross Pickworth and Rob Caldwell. And as Joanne said, Mark's just taking over as from me as chair. I'm staying on at the moment as a director for the next 12 months, partly while there's a replacement being, partly to bed in some changes. So that's what's happening on our governance field. I'm just going to run through our performance for the 22-23. So our net profit before tax was 846,000. We had budgeted for 1.3 million. The main impacts actually around not achieving the budget there were losses in our grey mass screening and crushing division. And that's necessitated some changes that we've made there, and it's been profitable for the last 3 months. So that seems to be working. There were costs related to the finishing of the Grey District Council roading contract. That pretty much all fell in the June month. And that was a little bit of redundancy, but also there was very little work and just finishing off stuff that we had to tidy up that wasn't invoiceable in that period. And then we had, in that particular period, low margins, although still a profit in Canterbury, but at lower margins. Pre-tax return on average shareholder funds, that was 7.5%. Our target or budget is at least 10, so we're a bit behind on that. We still made $2 million in cash generated from our operations. And a lot of that went in replacement plant. We still spent 1.6 million in replacement plant. That is just a standard sort of number for us, and just keeping the plant at a standard and replacing what needs to be replaced. That one. As far as the financial position, our total assets are 20.5 million. Last year they were 19.5 million. The extra 1 million actually there was actually 1 million of cash in the bank. And that was waiting for a scheduled loan repayment in September that was since paid. Equity is the same, so a difference between assets and liabilities are pretty much the same number, 11.3 million, 11.2 the year before. Good. Our external debt is, at that stage, was also our term debt, 4.3 million. It was 3.2 last year. But as I said, we were just paying $1 million and that we had as a shorter term loan. We were paying that off in September, which we had. So it's back at the basically 3.3 mark, thereabouts. And shareholder funds to total assets, which is just sort of a capital adequacy. We've got enough capital to be not at risk. Our target is anything greater than 45%. We're at 55 there. In actual fact, if we'd paid off that $1 million at balance date, which we had as cash, we would have been 58. So well inside comfortable limits with that. Distributions to our shareholders for this year. So subventions are going to be $380,000, and then the other portion of our distribution is a dividend of $200,000. So our total distributions to owners this year is going to be 580,000. That's just a wee bit of a graph over time of what those distributions have looked like just over the years. It is a steady sort of, there is that bit of a steady trend upwards, which is what we would hope and what we plan to continue achieving over the next few years. And Mark's going to end up talking about looking ahead. Those are taking two. Non-financial metrics. So mainly we work around there. So we're talking about health and safety sort of stuff. Our days lost due to incidents was 43 this year. Last year was 93, so we've had a good reduction in that. We've also had a good reduction in our lost time injury days to 0.1%. It was 0.3 the year before. What I haven't put up there, but in conjunction with that, is we've lowered our trigger target down, and it's 1.5 per 100,000 man hours. Now it was
the target's 1.5.
Yeah,
it was 2.2, and we're at 1.1.
We're at 1.1 at the moment, so we've made some significant gains around that. No notifiable incidents to WorkSafe, and see that we've had a bit more of a catch-up investment in training, because a lot of training, you'll know, with Australia with COVID, and you couldn't get people to do the training, so we're sort of on a little bit of a catch-up on training, and yeah, spent 242,000 in the last year on training with staff. That includes the time of the staff, as in what you would charge them out at, along with the training costs themselves. But that then goes to Mark.
So last time we put a strategic plan and review in place was 2019. There's been a few changes since that time. It was a turbulent period for the last 2 or 3 years. So we've done a refresh this year with the strategic plan and management plan. We've got our overarching strategic goals and then some key performance indicators that are linked to the management work plan as well, around customer focus, bit of diversification. So we've got a strong plan set for the years ahead. The upcoming year, there's going to be challenging economic conditions, but we think we've got a good base for it. We focused heavily on the equity position a couple of years ago when COVID hit and cash started getting tight, and the results being strength of the equity up to 58%. It was near the high 40s at that stage. And so we think we're well positioned for the year ahead. In terms of the regions, we've got strong maintenance base here, and we appreciate the work with Westland District Council on the road, utilities, and parks and reserves. With our focus here is to engage with shareholders and customers to make sure we maintain our social licence and continue to deliver. Don't take anything for granted. In grey, we've restructured due to loss of the roading contract. Parks and reserves, we're confident that we're delivering innovation there and got a good relationship to maintain that, as and when that comes up in the next year to 18 months. And then the utilities tender this morning is coming out in a couple of months, so getting a crack at that to complement the utilities tender as well. And then over in Canterbury, Trenching Dynamics, we've appointed a new manager over there who has a great contract management background, is strengthening the delivery of projects, so that should increase margin. And so we've got a growth and efficiency focus there to make sure we get every dollar we can out of each job we're doing.
And that's it. We're open to any questions. We also have Graham Kelly, our General Manager, here, because sometimes the questions get into operations, and that's not us.
And Councillor Glenn, thank you guys for that.
Chair, just give us an idea of what the Christchurch operation is looking at long term. How do you see it? It's quite competitive over there.
Yeah, it's focused on the Three Waters area. It's been heavily concentrated on Christchurch City Council work. We've been on the panel for a number of years, so get an opportunity to win all the Christchurch City work. However, it was too concentrated, so we've started moving out into Waimatic, Wiranui, Selwyn, broadening that way, and making sure that we have a balance between water and drainage work. Traditionally, we haven't performed as well on drainage, so the focus is on water, and we've been subcontracting a bit as head contractor for the drainage to increase our margins. Just broadening that. It is competitive at the moment, but if you've got a fixed overhead level, increasing workload, the margin goes to the bottom line. So it's about having enough scale to cover it, to improve.
I'll see.
Of it.
Through your worship, I was just going to ask, look, previously a lot of the trenching dynamics work in Christchurch would have been related to earthquake rebuild and stuff for restoring damaged infrastructure. Is most of that work done now, or is there still life in that? And then does that, obviously there's a lot of growth on the outskirts of Christchurch, is that where the business starts to shift to, or what's your overall sort of play there as things change?
Yeah, I think that's fair. And also, they're looking at the capital spend from Christchurch City Council as well in their water area, which might be challenged. And so on the outskirts and broadly.
Well, look, it's just very slow at the moment, like all councils. Christchurch City Council's had overspends in lots of areas, so the delivery of their program is quite slow at the moment. So that's why we've brought, like Mark said, we've gone out to other councils. And
just through your worship, if you don't mind, in Three Waters space, like all councils, we're sitting to find out what the next 100 days is going to bring in terms of how it's going to be formed. And councils are a little bit hesitant to go ahead and invest right now until we know what the surety in the future is. Even though it says we've got a capital plan we need to deliver, there is a bit of nervousness in the industry in terms of exactly where it's going to take, who's going to pick it up and how fast it can get picked up. So it's a moving beast.
We're also trying to identify niche areas that complement the water area as well. And so there's lots of
lots of companies can put pipes on the ground, but it's quite a market in the niche markets like pressure testing for other companies and the pipe welding. So we're not just concentrating on putting the pipes in the ground, but supporting other contractors what they do as well.
So yeah, so we've started entering that market. There's only one main competitor in that at the moment, the margins. Okay, so we're pursuing that area as well.
Councillor Davis,
it was growing out. Did you still got the depot and the infrastructure up there?
It's all there for us to win the utilities maintenance contract.
Excellent. Oh, no, and it's really good having West Roads in the community, and just providing that service. I know the down in South Westland, it's just really good to have a company like West Roads to go out and do that maintenance work just on call, do a fantastic job. So I know Councillor Panera will back me up here. They're a good company, and hope you carry on with that good work.
Thank you.
Well, see.
Councillor Neil.
Yeah, what's the staff numbers?
Right now we're about 110. Yep.
And are all staff on minimum of a living wage?
Apart from a couple of casuals, yes.
And that employment covers Greymouth right down to House and Christchurch, doesn't it? Staff numbers.
Yeah, we've dropped a bit. We were, this time last year, probably 130, so lost a few with the grey contract.
Councillor.
Those ones we lost, were they based living in Greymouth?
Yes. Yeah. 2 or 3 down here. We did bring another 2 or 3 and they travelled and it didn't quite work out. But
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you. I just wanted to acknowledge and thank Peter. Been there a long time. I know you haven't gone yet, but
I'm on the way out. Give them.
Yeah, well, I think it's worth acknowledging from the council. I mean, the West Roads remains the foundation company of this council and the community. Yeah, so thank you.
And I'll reiterate that since we said that would come to the end of the questions there, is that your service has been exemplary for West Roads and Westland. I think the succession planning that you've done as far as staying on and seeing those succession processes go smoothly has been really good, as is staying on as a director for the next year, especially with the review going on. I think all that's been handled exceptionally well, as has the involvement with the DCO review. We thank you for your activity and preparedness for that, because I know it's not easy for everybody involved. But Peter, for your service, we thank you very much, because it has been a very dedicated, focused service. So with focusing that on West Roads, it also serves Westland, so it's a greater appreciation than just the immediate business. So does anybody have anything further for these gentlemen? Nothing further. Thank you guys very much. We will move on to the next.
Thanks very much.
Oh, can I please have somebody move and accept the report from West Roads, please? Councillor Neal.
I'll second.
Councillor Phelps, thank you very much. So next is Destination Westland.
Your Worship and the councillors for having us. We're looking forward to taking you through some slides around our annual performance as well, and a few other slides to let you know around some of the things we're working on. Just to kick it off and introduce the
Look at towards here. Very slow.
Oh, very slow. Try again.
Try again.
Oh, right, cool. Just introducing the board. Obviously myself have been involved for the last period of time since COVID, and we've got Mara Louise, who's been a director now for I think a couple of years, and more recently Peter de Goldie joined us, all with different skills and different industry backgrounds. We sort of wrap around now in regards to the chief executive role, and really hopefully well. But rather than me waffling, it's much better to hear from the business. So I'm going to pass over to Al to run through the slides. Just like the board meetings, total control.
Kia ora koutou, Your Worship, councillors. Not going to go into too much detail because it was such a privilege to see so many councillors and attend our AGM today. It's unprecedented to have that many councillors actually attend the AGM. We're lucky if we get one. Normally just the mayor. So I just personally like to thank you that all turned up today to show your interest and ask a lot of really good questions today at our AGM. Just a summary and extract from the audited annual report. Pretty much the key notes there are around total revenue was pretty much on par with last year. Our total expenditure was up about 700, you've got to remember what units I'm working in here, 700,000. A big portion of that was in relation to the service delivery costs around putting on Wild Foods and the additional pool expenditure this year compared to last year. The other reason, the revenue side, dropping back. The previous year there was an amount of grants received, which pertained mainly to the completion of the terminal at the airport. And this year that was largely offset by the Wild Foods income. So it's not much of a difference from a revenue perspective, yet we see our expenditure jumping quite a bit there. Our post-tax deficit this year of 45,000 operating. Again, that was largely impacted by pool operating, interest rates increases, rates increases, insurance, cost of diesel, and those sorts of things. And then at the bottom there, you'll see a healthy $5.5 million comprehensive income. That's related to the revaluation of land, buildings and runways, which was about 8 million minus the 2 point whatever million in deferred taxation. Won't go into deferred taxation with you. I'm sure it's a topic that maybe we can pass over to someone else at some stage if we want to discuss that. Moving from the statement of what would be the statement of profit and loss to the extract from the balance sheet. You'll note there on the left-hand side, we have a working capital deficit of 1.3 million, completely the same as the previous year. That largely relates to loans that are coming due in this financial year and so have to be recorded as current liabilities, even though we will be rolling them over. The major increase on the other side and our non-current side of our balance sheet is the huge increase to our non-current assets, and that's largely in part to the revaluation of the assets and the completion of the units, which gives us a total equity of 15.1 million. So that's up around about 6. Looking at our non-financial results as per ASOI, as reported, looking pretty good all down there. The only one was the NPS. And that was actually because it wasn't done during that year, because we needed the start and stop point, and we didn't do the one at the end prior to doing the audited statements. So that we will be looking at that, so that's why it's not achieved. Talking about asset revaluation, a big part of statements this year, there was additional costs in order to do that, including an increase in our audit fee. A lot of time we update of policies and queries from the auditors as to why, because we weren't required to do it, that we did actually complete the valuation on our land, building and runways. However, it was in line with council policy. And so it makes sense. The benefit from it, though, of course, is that it's an increased asset value on our books. And you'll see there the pre-value of 8.8 of our land, building and runways up to 16.8 million post that revaluation. We hadn't done one, so unlike others who do it on a regular cycle of 3 years, so it was quite a jump recognised in this year's statements, whereas following the policy of every 3 years will be a less of a material adjustment to the balance sheet. Just touching quickly on Wild Foods. There's an approximate cost of $80,000 to Western District Council, but that brings in over $1 million of visitor expenditure directly caused by the event. Not just people showing up who are around at the time of the event, but directly related to the event itself. So the numbers there, around 7,000 unique visitors. It is slightly higher than that, but the evidence-based only brings us back down to the 7,000. Visitor nights, 7,000 visitor nights caused directly by the event itself. They're not here for any other reason than it's directly caused by the event, and approximately 8,000 unique visitors. And just touching on, I know we've talked about it a lot, so I won't go into much detail. We discussed it again this morning. The completion of our project, 8 people no longer on the wait list, smaller, drier homes, utilising local contractors. Now, this is a slide that I am really excited to show. This is the increase in passenger growth through our aviation networks. On the left-hand side, you'll see the passenger numbers for NZHK, which is Hokitika Airport. The sharp increase over the last couple of years has been, we are back to the numbers where we really want to be pre-COVID. Glacier Country, Heliport, massive increases. We're still sitting around 50% of our 2019. But things are looking good, tourism's looking good. The only thing we can't control is the weather, and flying up through the glaciers is weather dependent. So we're all hoping for a bumper, dry summer, because we know that the visitors are here. It's now about having the right weather down there for them to actually enjoy it.
Any questions? The wild food stuff, $1 million direct going to the community. Do you have the indirect number there as well?
Sorry?
Do you have the indirect?
Not in front of me, no.
Is that report public? Accessible to get those details?
I can definitely get it, yeah.
Chair, so this morning you mentioned the wild food got to about 360k. Is that right? Is that what you said this morning?
Sorry?
The cost of the Wild Food Festival to DW was about 360k. Is that what you said this morning, or did I get it wrong?
I'll have to pull that back up, that information.
It was,
It was around, yeah.
I was just wondering what the income side of.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah, sorry. Give me 1 second. You'll have to excuse me. I went back to work after the AGM and my glasses are sitting up there. So as I squint at the screen, as I squint at the screen, no, I'm sure I've got it here.
I was just curious
Yeah.
to see how that compares to the revenue, which I guess is 80k management fee.
So the 80k cost to council is 90k management fee less $10,000 of rent.
Yeah. And what other revenue do you get from Wild Food?
Ticket sales. So it's bearing in mind that Wild Foods did not run in the 2022 year, and there was operating costs and staffing costs and other costs involved in that year. So if your question is around the bottom line, over the 2 years, and we have to consider that, it was a slight up. We're not talking the same as what we saw in 2021, but it didn't cost us anything over that 2-year period.
So last year, this year, sorry.
Yeah.
Last year's, or that non-event period, which indicates that there's been a good profit in there anyway.
Yeah, it would have been an outstanding profit if there hadn't been 2 factors. One, you had the ongoing costs, but also the infrastructure costs and everything else changed for certain things. Even though the quotes were agreed for the 2022 year, there was some uplift and some additional changes. But overall, it was, I don't have the exact combined between the two.
Turn around though, isn't it? Good. Anybody have any further questions for Mel? No. Easy. Thanks, Mel, very much, and thank you too for your dedication in your role with Destination Westland. I know you too are just as passionate as what Peter is with your role and Westland. You bring a lot to the position, and we are very grateful for that, because you've got to have passion to make these things work, and that's very good. Thanks for that, and also for the effort and time you've given to the review, because we know that's been pretty hard for you, and also managing your staff, because it's easy for them. So thank you very much for that, and we just look forward to a good progressive year ahead. Thank you. Can I have someone please move and second Bill's report? Thank you, Councillor Davidson, Councillor Collette, thank you very much. And now we'll welcome Jo to the podium.
Yeah, thank you. Councillors, lovely to see you. And I just reiterate what Chris said this morning, and Mel, it was lovely to see many of the councillors at our AGM this morning. It does make us, feel valued. We all hear what we're doing in that kind of environment and help us through what is really a formal process. So it was great. Unfortunately, our annual report has not been signed off by the auditors at this point in time. So we are going to talk about the consolidated figures. So we have a slide with those on them. But please just note, there is a remote possibility that they could change because it's still the auditors. We had a statutory requirement to get it completed by 30 September. Didn't happen. We're not really sure what happened with Ernst Young, but we are still waiting for the audit to be completed, and I know that that's causing Leslie quite a bit of stress because the council audit can't be completed until holdings is completed. So, can I say, when I walked in, I was answering a question. We'll see what happens. Am I pointing this way? Okay, so just thought it was worth reminding you of our mission. To grow and protect our communities, our economy and our unique environment. And our mission statement is to provide strong governance to our respective CCOs and act as a connection between the council's strategic focus and the CCOs through delivering on our SOI responsibilities. Oops, too far. So these are our strategic priorities. So we're focusing on 4 things this year, really. The community engagement, working with the CCOs to promote how they're seen in the community in a positive way. Connection, re-establishing the independence governance structure. So you will recall that the directors of Westland Holdings were also the directors of Destination Westland for a time, and we're gradually replacing those ourselves, so that once again the Destination Westland board is quite separate from Westland Holdings. So we've just got Chris Fawley to go. We're kind of waiting till the review is completed so we know where to go with that process. Westland focus, encouraging better representation from Westland locals and with governance opportunities. We were not able to put an intern on the Westroads board last year because when we went through the IOG, they didn't have anyone on the West Coast that they were able to put forward. They were trying to recommend people from Canterbury, and we said that doesn't really achieve our goals, which is to improve the governance capability within the West Coast. But I understand the process has started for this year and has a couple of quite good candidates. So fingers crossed we can get some interns happening. And we discussed at the Westroads board yesterday perhaps having the interns in place for 18 months to give them some really good experience, and then working with some of the other boards on the West Coast to then have those same interns carry over for 18 months on another board. So within Grey District or with the electricity boards, or something like that, so that people are getting a really good grounding of governance experience, and then hopefully we'll be able to put themselves forward for board positions themselves, developing their skills. Number 4 is working together, strengthening our relationship with the councillors and having them attend AGM. Recognise that, which is great. Through building trust and confidence and Holdings' ability to oversee the CCOs. So we'll move on, if we could, to our financial results. And so first of all, we'll talk about the non-financial results. So over the last 12 months, we got the Local Government Funding Authority funding through, so that enabled us to, so Westland Holdings is borrowing funds from LGFA and then on loaning them to the CCOs. It was a very onerous process getting that in place, And we did that towards the end of last year. And then as the CCO's loans, term loans came up for renewal, they transferred those over to the LGFA. So they only benefited from that reduced interest for part of the year. But I've done some quick calculations that would mean that if they're using LGFA funds, there's significant hundreds of thousands of savings from what they would face if they had to go to the bank now to get loans. So it really is worthwhile, and we have covenants that we've got to fit within, but we're well within those covenants. It's about $6 million of lending currently, and we can go to about 12. So being able for our CCOs to be able to borrow at that really discounted rate is well worthwhile. We've got a continued focus on reviewing and updating our risk outlook. So we have regular reviews of the risks, the risk registers from both of our CCOs, so we can keep an eye on that, and ensuring we manage the overall group risk effectively. Obviously, risk is a big issue for council. We just keep a pretty good eye over that from the perspective of the CCOs. Increasing financial controls to ensure the CCOs are managing their respective profit and loss in this more challenging environment. So, as you'll be aware, costs increased significantly over the last 12 to 18 months. You have seen it does affect the bottom line. We are putting reminders in place to the boards of the CCOs to make sure that they're managing their money prudently, particularly around expenses. And monitoring of consistent policies and procedures across all CCOs. So it's important to have strong policies in place, and so we have a focus on compliance and making sure policies, firstly, are robust, and secondly, align with council's policies. And then we have our financial results. So again, we're not 100% sure this is where it will finally land. If there are any changes, we wouldn't think they would be significant. So there are questions going through between the auditors and the accountants and us at the moment. Hopefully there's nothing major. Leslie particularly hopes there's nothing major to change, because if we change with the holders, there's going to change councils as well. So look, our financials reflect the performance of the CCOs. So there's no surprises having heard what Westfield's Destination Westland results were. We also carry through that revaluation of the airport asset, so you'll see that right down the bottom, so that the comprehensive income for the year is 7.125 million. However, that's not money. That's actually mostly made up of that revaluation. So the profit for the year for the group is 268,000, and that's after income tax subvention payment. So it's not fantastic. It's nowhere near what we budgeted, but that it was, it's just reflecting that challenging 12 months. So just wondering if anyone had any questions.
Councillor B.
To the Chair. Joe, tell me about, under strategic priorities, this community engagement, what have you got planned for that?
So we're just trying to make sure that the CCOs release positive messages. So we're working with Emma from Council when she's doing her community updates. She's coming to us now and saying, have you got a story? And we're trying to make sure that the positive stories get out, not just relying on the media to print the negative stories. So, so we've been doing that all year, and I think it's working quite well, because sometimes you forget your success and just focus on things that don't as well.
Dividend, Joe, you haven't made an announcement?
I have not made an announcement, but Peter did anyway. So there will be a dividend paid of 200,000 and subvention payments of totaling 380. So 180 will come to Westland Holdings and 200,000 to council. So in terms of cash, that's not a bad result. And Peter showed you that graph that shows those returns to council growing over time. That's the goal. It's always the goal, is to try and return a reasonable amount to council as the ultimate shareholder, so that it can offset rates. So we're very focused on that goal.
Any further questions for Joanna? Can I have someone please move in second and that we accept and receive Joe's report, please? Western Holdings. Thank you, Councillor Neil. Councillor Davidson, thank you very much. And Joe, thank you very much too from Council. We are exceptionally lucky to have the team of directors that we have right through the whole spread of our CCOs and within Western Holdings. So we're really grateful for your direction and leadership and the turnaround that we've seen under those influences and yourselves. Thank you very much. Right, so from here we'll move on to staff. Thanks, guys. Move on to staff reports. So we'll start off with yours, please, your quarterly report. Thank you.
He's been busted a couple of times now.
So, thank you, Your Worship, and afternoon again, councillors. I'll take you through the report as read, but there's quite a comprehensive report, and I would like to touch on quite a few subject matters within the report. There's also appendixes, and I do want to highlight there's one error in the appendix for federal funding to do with Carnegie Building. Is $1 million figure too high? I think that should actually be 2 million something rather than 3 million something.
So what page was it on, Tom?
I don't think I can scroll through. It's in the Carnegie building and within the federal funding appendix item. So just in terms of significant focus points for council, obviously with the incoming government, we have, well, whilst it's still not formed, we know there's going to be change. And I just want to highlight the items within National's policy statement around the 100-day action plan. And there's 4 items in there that really jump out as affecting local government directly. Obviously the repeal of Labor's 3 waters legislation, the repeal of Labor's RMA 2.0 laws. They talk about stopping blanket speed limit reductions and also introducing a fast track consenting scheme regime. All of those have different ramifications for us, and it'll be interesting to see how they play out regards a coalition government as well, but we are waiting to see. Saying that we aren't waiting to see in terms of putting our best foot forward for the West Coast. The mayors and chairs of each council have been working with the CEs in terms of putting forward a business case to the incoming government. And it's around those key priority areas. Obviously resilience being one of those significant aspects, the lifelines component, and all those critical infrastructure conversations that we need to have with the government, just to say that, look at us first before you go and spend any money elsewhere. So we are working, planning to get that done reasonably quickly this side of Christmas, planning to be in Wellington in early the new year once the government has formed. Just also in an appendix, I've added the LG&Z reporting. This is the work that they're focusing on, also very focused on the new government outcomes. So I will let you read that in your own time as the appendix items. Affordable water reform. Once again, touches on the various components of what that will look like. It's fair to say that there will be a revised model. How that pans out will be determined shortly. But it's fair to say that we have been having a lot of conversations with the NTU, or the National Transition Unit, about how that looks. They are pretty well shutting up shop until that 100 days is done as well, including all the contracts that are going on within the HR space, progressing people between entities. Whilst our date is not till 1st July 25, Auckland date is 1st of July next year. So if there's massive changes, entity A will be affected first before anyone else. The Hokitika Wastewater Treatment Plant, some good updates on that. There's been obviously a workshop, committee meeting earlier this week. There's been some really solid dialogue going on. There's an engagement process which is happening on the 4th and the 8th of November. So obviously for concerned key stakeholders and also general public to come and listen in terms of where we're at with the project. Also, they opened up the dialogue with Western Mill and also Silver Fern Farm. So Scott's been taking that lead with Stantec. And when it comes to budgeting, obviously we need to put something in the LTP. We've decided to look at making sure Three Waters currently is included in our long-term plan conversation, considering legislatively we don't have to, but we don't want to be caught short once it comes around in 100 days' time. So if that currently is in, it's easier to take it out than to put it back in. But we need to understand what that future cost is likely to be for the wastewater treatment plant, based on where we're at the moment. And we're taking a worst case example philosophy to ensure there's no surprises as an outcome. So Stantec are putting those numbers together based on what could be a future plant in operation. You'll see a note about chlorination in the report, pretty well rolled out to everyone, including Hearts this week. So that is 100% compliance to the regulation. And Fox wastewater water treatment plant has been delivered, I believe, this week to Fox, and over the next week also will be installed and commissioning will be started, and it'll be all completed by Christmas. That includes compliance to the right standards as well. The regional service delivery model for waste and recycling, you'll recall Tonkin and Taylor, along with our operations team, are working with the other two councils in terms of a regional approach. Whilst we haven't signed anything to date, we are still waiting on work to be done by Tonkin and Taylor to look at the cost efficiencies and the cost modelling for this. We don't want to end up being the one that subsidises everyone else. So whilst it's great to be in a shared service concept, we still have to make sure it's what's best for Westland as well. So that conversation is actively happening and will be ongoing. And that'll come back to council in the future state. Waihell River update, obviously very live and very raw at the moment. Myself, Helen, and actually we're both all down last night in the aerodrome on the south side of the Waiho, hearing the concerns citizens there in terms of the impacts of the proposal by Regional Council to remove the Southside salt banks over the next 10 years. Obviously, Regional Council are collecting information at the moment. There's been no commitment to do that. They are collecting information. There's a lot of information to collect. At the end of this, there's an $8.775 million package that Wellington hasn't released until there's a business case put forward by Regional Council and the community. Just to highlight there that we are supporting in this framework and now actively supporting, thanks to her worship and her words around making sure that they are well represented. Those that haven't seen the technical advisory report, we do encourage that you get a copy of it. I'm happy to take anyone through that report one-on-one as a presentation. I've taken Councillor Davidson through it. I'm happy to do that anytime. I've taken the staff through it here in the building as well. So just to highlight the seriousness of the river and the aggregation that is actually going on. Scrolling down. Carnegie Building, obviously we have completed the external works. All the minor snag list has been worked through and completed. There's been some external landscaping being completed as well. Obviously the next stage for this is fit out and working with the new director in terms of display. That'll be coming back to council in the near future for workshopping as well. Touching on the building options once again, just highlighting as part of the action. We will have a workshop on the 31st of October, having worked closely with our consultants on what options look like, and we'll be tabling that shortly. Hokitika Swimming Pool, once again highlighting what has been a good reopening. We have had some hiccups, but we have put a permanent fix in as of yesterday. So we had some temporary fixes running through the week. and that permanent fix appears to be working and has been running for the last 48 hours without a hiccup. So looks like we have solved the tripping of the boiler. Special purpose roads, once again, a great outcome last week in terms of Kukatai's board's decision to allow us to retain 100% fire rate on the Jackson Bay Road. Good work between us and Buller, and hat goes off to Carl and Scott working in this space with our colleagues up north. There is some councils out there where this hasn't occurred, and thank you Paul and Iwi's involvement in putting a case forward and looking at a case through an Iwi lens as well. I'll take questions at the end if that's right. Corporate services, obviously the audit report, and we've heard from Joe and Conroy before, but we have an extraordinary meeting planned for next Tuesday to get that all signed off. Massive job, and fair to say that the process has been quite arduous this year compared to last year. And obviously this feeds into the long-term plan budgeting process. We've started that work. We have a capital workshop planned for mid-November for the capital works, so that is ongoing. Some really good work in the IT space, and they've done a lot of really good work around security. So in building, successfully built, implementing a new firewall upgrade, and then multi-factor authorization as well, ensuring that to get into our systems, there's 2 levels of security. Quite annoying sometimes, but it actually does work. Sometimes it's just when you want to use it that you have to go and reboot it. Comms and strategy. Once again, the long-term plan process is underway. A massive piece of work again. There's a lot of conversations that we need to have with the public, and that'll be obviously coming through now through to early next year to get it all finalised for consultation. TTP work, just obviously at submission stage now, and commissioner hearings have all been booked. We have been working really hard with Okarito in terms of the dark sky application. They are booked to go and speak to the hearing on the 14th of November. They've done some good work pulling that together, and kudos to them for doing so. And we'll be there to support them on the day as well. The paper today alluded to a new staff member working at the museum. That's actually not the case. It's a consultant, Richard Bullitt, who's actually been helping us with the swimming pool, helping with the fit-out costs, and also working with the display developments as well. Our Mayor's Task Force for Jobs, just to note the work year to date. 20 years have been put into a secured employment, which is fantastic. We have 7 young unemployed people working with the team at the moment in an employability program, and 18 individuals actively currently seeking full-time employment through the service. So the great guys are doing a fantastic job over there, and if you've got a chance to go and see what they're doing, please do so. In terms of vacancies, we have 3 positions that have just been filled, with new staff members joining us very shortly, 2 starting next week, and a new asset strategy and development manager starting 12th of December. Only 2 vacancies open at the moment, a senior planner, which has been open for quite some time, which is very hard to find, and a technical assistant for the 3 water space. And that, Worship, is the end of my update. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Simon.
Thank you, through your worship. 2 things I just wanted to comment on. Question 1 was 3 waters. And just how refreshing it was to read that,
water done well locally.
Water done well proposal from the other side. It just makes such a refreshing change from the bureaucratic juggernaut that we had. And so let's see how they deliver, but that much was really good. 3.1.6 of your report, you referred the councils are putting together a list of key infrastructure projects to present to the government part of the bid to access $1 billion competitive fund. And the wastewater treatment plant will be a key part of that. Is that under the previous government or?
No, this is the work that you recall the meeting chairs, we talked about putting this information together as a package from the West Coast. So, so we are expecting to include some of those big ticket items from Westland's point of view into that package.
Oh, okay, right, okay. So the $1 billion competitive fund,
which has been announced by the National Party pre-election.
Yes, if they deliver.
If they deliver.
Right.
Correct. I think where we struggle with competitive funds, it actually doesn't support smaller rural provincial councils, considering we don't have the resources to put a business case together in 5 months. It really comes down to us making sure now that we actually get that collective business case. They have made it very clear to us that it needs to be a regional voice, that we can't all go and knock on the door individually. But that's why we're working with the other councils.
So through your worship, that brings me to the next point, which was about Friends and the Waiho River. Yeah, a very difficult situation, obviously. But, and though you say in the report about how Westland is showing solidarity with those on the Waiho Flat, of course, there's also a big job incumbent on this council, which is to do with, firstly, with the moving of the sewage ponds, which were foolishly put back into an active riverbed, rebuilt there. History, but it's going to cost us, because we're going to have to factor into the moving of that as well. So, I mean, we could be back at the $8 million figure that we had previously for moving that. And then secondly, with that is that this council also needs to start work now in tandem with that work that the regional council is trying to instigate on the South Bank for an integrated plan for Friends, like with the gradual stage migration of the town. We've talked about it previously, kind of settled on planning suite to move to accommodate that, but
you are 100% right. It needs to be fully integrated, including the master planning work as well. We have raised this, and we are working with regional council in this space. How Westport have done it in terms of how they've pulled together a project management office to do this as a standalone entity. We can't do it inside our day job either. So this needs a concentrated effort in terms of focus on the project. It's a big project at the end of the day, and it needs to be a combined effort to get it across the line. Just to highlight to councillors, the landfill behind Canavan's Knob down the old council's Franz Joseph landfill. It's 3 times the size of the one at Fox, and that cost $3 million to relocate, including building a new landfill at Butlers, new cell at Butlers, sorry. So the only place it could come is to Butlers, and we'd have to build another cell for it to go in.
I will just say, as a follow-on to Simon's comments, is that the regional council can't do this business case on their own for Franz Joseph, and we've given our assurance to the Franz Joseph community that we will be with them on the process all the way, and that we will be ensuring that everything that should be done is done. But also Franz Joseph does feature and will be featuring in the proposal we put forward to the government, because we do have the ponds to factor in, we do have the rubbish dump to factor in, as well as the movement of the south side and however that factors in and happens. So it's a massive situation and project. It's one that we can't afford, regional council can't afford, and we have to go to Wellington for this. But we can't leave it where it's been filed away in previous reports. Something has to happen, or we will see lives impacted more so than having to leave the land will see them at risk.
Through the chair, sorry. Right, thank you. Just in terms of that presentation that Simon gave us there, I know we had a presentation by the regional council, and we got some idea of what was happening down there. I did anyway. But that presentation, the latest one, you know, I got a very clear understanding of the bigger picture that was happening down at Friends. And I would strongly recommend that each councillor, you know, gets that video and gets Simon to go through it with you, because I believe that the project down there at Franz Joseph would be the biggest project that the council has had for many, many years. And so it's big stuff. So, you know, if we all get a very clear picture together on it, better off we'll be. Thank you.
He's very, very correct. You know, we remember that Franz Joseph is one of our communities. They contribute a lot to our GDP, and that community is going to need a hell of a lot of support going forward, and even your presence at any meetings down there is a moral support to them, and don't underestimate the value of that, of your presence at the meetings, even if you're not part of the community or haven't been part of the community. It makes a hell of a difference to them, and it will certainly do going forward. We're also looking at pulling in the resources of rural support, mental health and everything else, because the compounding impact is
Thank you, Your Worship. Just further to Councillor Davidson, so the problem that Friends has, as you were right to say, there are multiple problems. It's like a multi-headed taniwha, the Alpine Fault in the river and the South Bank, and the cost of moving sewage ponds, etc. But then also we also need to include in this master plan the future of the Glacier Access Road, because Department of Conservation was ready to walk away from that, and that's going to be a game changer as well. And so all of that needs to be brought together. So it's not just what the Regional Council, of course, are doing. It's, I'm pleased to hear that Westland is going to be at the forefront.
Just to highlight too that Mark Davies from DOC was at the meeting last night, and it's quite supportive of it as well.
Through Your Worship, just on that note, it wasn't what I was going to ask about, but it sounds like all the problems down there, even just individually, but you put them all together, it's bigger than the rate paid. It's going to require taxpayer support. There's no other way. There's close enough that there's any other way that's been solved. But that aside, the special purpose roads, how much time has that brought us until it comes up again?
3 years.
Okay.
But legally,
is this just a game of tug of war we're going to have every 3 years before it goes out?
Legally, they can only go 3 years because it's part of the road transport plans. Every 3 years gets renewed. So every time 3 years comes around, they have to revisit the bar rates and everything as well.
I appreciate it's great that we've achieved a result and we've bought ourselves some time, but I just feel like it's an issue that's going to come up again and again and again. And one day when we say, please sir, may I have some more, the answer may be no.
Which is a massive ask. I think that the next 3 years, and working with the transportation team, we're going to try and get as much work done in that space as well. Anyway, with the 100% bar rate, so as much as we can push it anyway. But we do have the ability to keep leveraging us as being special and a special purpose road. So because obviously what we have down the end of that road is quite critical for us as well in terms of infrastructure and resilience going.
And also to working collaboratively with Fuller, because they've got the road to Karambia. It's very much a team effort working closely together, and again with iwi support as well. It's a hell of a result, and we actually quite firmly in the belief that it wasn't going to have that result. So it's a great effort.
Like, just to highlight to those that are listening, this could have been up to a 9% rates rise, just getting the road back. Just to highlight how significant this decision was to the council.
Through the Chair, Simon, I believe it's on page 46, that $3.8 to $2.8 million In terms of the Fox water supply, you just mentioned by Christmas. I don't know if that's the expectation of the community. Where are we at with
I think, well, I don't know exactly. So the commissioning, once it goes in, it's very easy, straightforward for the commission. We'll pass on to the operation.
I've literally just had an email just as you asked the question. Member Morrissey. So the plant is going to be on site on the 6th and 7th of November. And then it takes a couple of weeks to commission it, make sure it's fully so you're looking for the water to come on subject to commissioning going on.
Has that been communicated to the community? They were under the previous advice of by the end of October.
I would say, given that it's literally hit my inbox,
I will go to them.
I will talk to my colleague immediately.
Please. Thank you. There's hotline down there for them. Simon, in terms of all the projects we've got on the go, you don't foresee any risks of swimming pool or canoes community prison at the moment?
No, obviously we've brought swimming pool back in-house and that's been managed very, very well. It really comes down to staff resources, and we've got young Vista who's joined us now, who's actually stepping up extremely well. Got some really good feedback. He's taking on the toilets at Aotearoa as well and getting some very good feedback from the local residents in Aotearoa. So no, we're comfortable. We were slightly running behind on some of particularly the smaller bedrock pumping projects, but that seems to be caught up now as well.
Sorry, last one from me. Just echoing what you said around the Middle Task Force for Jobs and the work they're doing. We look forward to bringing some stuff on the youth strategy with Riley and myself and Sylvia in terms of the meeting to seek council support for some stuff in that space. So, just space.
Just to highlight that, if there is going to be any cost implications to what you propose, we need to have it in a budget for our consideration as well.
That's a given, but it's something I asked Ashley and Riley to work on because it's something that we don't have as a youth strategy, and because Mayor's Task Force for Job were looking at the same thing, it was good to work collaboratively with them because they're the ones that are working with that aspect, and it's I think timely we actually develop this and ensure it fits the community that we have from one end to the other, from Taramaka Bridge down to Haas. I thank the guys for stepping forward with that. It's been greatly appreciated, as has Dan's input from Mayor's Task Force for Jobs. Paul, you had another question?
Just a really quick one regarding the museum. I just wanted to clarify, so on the annual report on the Heritage Museum searches began for a contract curator.
Well, for the outworks.
So, yeah, so I just wanted to clarify, so this isn't a new job at the museum. This isn't the job that we culled from the budgets last year. Back. No. Right, good.
Right, Councillor Beck, make this the last question.
Sorry, I have to ask this question, but it's materially relevant and it's a hard one, but we're in public and I'll put it out there. In light of this change in the Three Water policy, is the fact that we didn't collect Three Water depreciation for this financial year going to be a problem in the next annual plan?
No, it's only 1 year, it's not going to make that much difference.
Thank you. Good answer, Leslie.
And he's right, he had to ask it. Thank you, Stephen.
Yeah.
Right, if there's no further questions for Simon, I thank you for your report, Simon, and can I have a mover and a second to please resolve that the quarterly report from the Chief Executive dated 26 October 2023 be received. Thank you, Councillor Phelps, Councillor Blair, thank you very much, gentlemen. Right, so we will move on to the financial report, and Cody is here ready to go, so welcome Cody to the podium. Nice to see you back again, and the floor is yours.
Yes, good afternoon, Your Worship and Councillors. Through Your Worship, I present the financial report for the 3rd of September 2023. I'll take it as read, and through Your Worship, I'll take any questions.
Questions?
Sorry, they're all appendixes to Simon.
Yes, correct.
77.
Whilst Patrick's looking for his pages for his questions, probably the strikingly obvious one, against a budget of 1.31 million for surplus, we're at 0.39. I guess the top line summary of $900,000 behind budget there. Page 82.
Just say what you said again, please, because a lot of us will try to get to that page.
Right, seeking clarification as to why we're 900,000 behind budget for surplus so far for the year.
With the timing, isn't it?
Your worship, we've broken down in the notes as to the reasons why there's variances.
Yes, that's right, yeah. It is, you know, always going to be timing, mostly with grants, and also, just direct your attention to the notes on page 85. It should sort of, that is what, this provides a summary of the variance of the 900,000 that you're talking about.
Through the chair, you generally find you have quite a few timing differences earlier on in the year, and they start closing as you go through the year. As you get to the end of the year, those become more permanent differences, so budget up and down.
I like the fact that you always have the notes to the statement of comprehensive revenue and expenditure, which explains often those differences that are there that you come up with as you're going through, and you go down to that and it's all explained in black and white. So I thank you for your thoroughness with those reports. It makes for very easy reading. Any further questions for Cody, please? You present your report very well, because look at that.
Oh, just a question, this is probably, sorry, this is just a tiny one as well. So March 24 forecast debt showing is 30 million and then it goes up about 36 million in April. Is that just at the end of the financial year or something like that?
Yeah, it's essentially where we've put the forecast for the any potential debt that we may raise throughout the year. Yeah.
Does that debt taper down over the course of the year later in the financial year?
Yes, in April, we're expecting a loan will be repaid because it's when it matures.
Right.
Through the chair, though, we've pre-funded that already, though.
And that's, yeah, it is pre-funded with a return deposit as well, just to make sure that we are able to pay that.
So the general debt on the council's books by April 24 will be about 36 million, or will there be a total? Just going on page.
This current time forecast is online with the budget.
Yeah.
Chair, so comment, I think that's just the LTP stuff, isn't it? And it just keeps getting shifted further out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So it's just sitting there waiting. It's it's in the plan, so you've got to allow for it. But we've just got to park it somewhere.
And it's there every month, showing it and moving out, as you say. Anything further for Cody, please? No? Can I have a mover and a seconder, please, resolve that the financial performance report for 30th September 2023 be received? Thank you, Councillor Glett. Have a seconder, please. Councillor Phelps, and thank you very much, Cody. Excellent report, well done. Thank you. Now we will have Leslie, please, Corporate Services Risk Insurance, to speak on the Maori Awards decision. Thanks, Leslie.
Yeah, I'll take the report as read. This is an optional requirement. We don't actually have to do anything, but I think it's good practice that we actually make a resolution to determine whether we do want to include a Maori award in the representation review. The current status quo is that we don't, and we do have the partnership agreement with the council and the committees.
Through your worship, so I think it's, I agree with the recommendation. And there should have been feedback from Carter, have I know? No? Okay, well, it was discussed at the executive committee meeting, which arrived at the same conclusion. It's supposed to have been passed on, sorry. But I think what this shows is that, classic case of one size doesn't fit all. So, whereas the government was looking at making this mandatory throughout the country, it wouldn't work. It doesn't work here. And that shows we would end up with one representative. That representative wouldn't necessarily be mana whenua, and so you potentially could lose that key link between the council and mana whenua, true partners. And so I think the arrangement that we have works for Edward, hopefully works for council as well. Even though we don't always agree, but
Democracy.
it is democracy, and the non-voting bit is, it's like, well, it is what it is, but it's legislative. In short, we're happy with the recommendation.
Thank you, Paul, for those comments. It's good to have your feelings and your interpretation of that and where that sits. And I think the relationship that we have with Ngāti Waewae and Makawhio, that are Makawhio, are very sound, solid relationships. And you're right, we don't always agree with everything, but that is democracy, as it is no different between anybody here at the table. So this serves the fact that we have the two iwi through the region, interlinking, this I think serves us far better than it would to have one representation when we've got individuals with their own mana whenua as well out there. This gives us better coverage.
If there was one, would they get a vote then?
Yeah, they're elected like a Northern Southern Waikato ward member.
But it would be one for the whole ward?
Yeah.
For the whole district.
District, I mean, sorry.
Yeah. And it would also, through worship, that position would also be voted by those on the Maori Role. And that's very limited. Because there's an awful lot of Maori Role, especially on the West Coast.
So the benefit of Māori living here who weren't necessarily in the country or Ngāti Waewae.
Which we do here.
Yeah, no, I was going to say a lot of
With no formal response from Ngāti Waewae, does anybody have a steer from them around their position on status quo versus award? And if you can't answer that, then that's fine. I was just wondering if anybody did.
Same position.
Thank you. So we're definitely very supportive of what we've done here. I'm not aware of any requests from the community to change it at all to a Maori ward. Are you at all, Paul? No. I certainly support the recommendation.
Anybody have any further comments, questions? Right, can I have a mover and seconder, please, resolve that A, the report be received, and B, that council resolve to continue with the status quo and do not resolve to establish an Maori ward. Thank you, Councillor Beck. Councillor Neil, thank you very much. Thank you, Leslie, for the report. Thank you, everybody, for your contribution to that. Emma, we will go over to you. We're running smack on to time too, so we're doing well, everybody. Welcome, Emma, for the Vision and Community Outcomes adoption. What's yours?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor and councillors. I would like to take the report as read and through the chair ask for any questions.
Questions?
Will it affect Mr. Holdings if we change our vision? Can I just sit down and the same one?
Our vision is our vision. And your thoughts that it could impact?
I'm just saying that I've got the same as ours.
Oh, sorry, you're referring to the, sorry?
Mr. Holdings?
Yes, so they adopted the Vision and Council previously as part of their, we would share this with them if they wish to change to align with Council's vision.
I just found that environmental scan document just really fascinating to read. It's great insight into Westland metrics. A lot of interesting information in there.
Just one point to note, we found some more information, I can't remember where it came from, Stats New Zealand potentially, showing Westland growing by 140 next 12 months or
all of Westland.
Or Westland only.
Yeah.
Which obviously changes philosophy as well. But it could be just a recalibration of people coming back to find, those people who left pre-COVID coming, or during COVID coming back.
Yeah, I'm sorry, through your worship. So the environmental scheme also indicates that the trend for people to be moving out into the fringes, hinterland effect, and building. So, which of course is, as you all know, is true, but it's depleting population within the split town boundaries. So when we talk about Hokitika population, I don't know why we still feel constrained by the old Hokitika borough boundaries between the town belts, because that's not Hokitika anymore.
No.
Hokitika should include, I mean, that doesn't even include Brickfield and the immediate, as immediate environment in the town. So it's used the official view of Hokitika as a town, a vibrant town with a much larger population than 3,200 or whatever it is, especially within that boundaries of the town belts. And perhaps we, council, should start leading to stretch that out to the true boundaries of what Hokitika is, and embrace those areas, including Hogan's Road, for instance. Not going too far out, but I mean just that far, is clearly part of urban Hokitika. They're just like little satellites right on the fringes of town, rather than just counting within the borough boundaries. Westport doesn't. They include their population figures. They're quite everywhere. They include Carter's Beach. Across the river, if you go by drive by car, it's a good drive.
Yeah. Quite right. There's something that we can think about as to how we manage that going forward, because it's quite
Yeah, I think it's something to do with the way we've done it historically through the district revaluations and the zoning as far as that's concerned. But I know that we're going to look at changing some of those through the district revaluations this time. So moving out slightly, so that might fit in with that.
And everybody's quite comfortable with the content in there as far as the vision.
I think we could argue that, changes here and changes there, but like the vision, mission, strategy piece, it's been not left to be a poster on the wall, and the actions of us on the table, the executive team and staff to bring it to life. It's an important piece of many of these documents.
You're quite right, and I did actually send this out for everybody to have a bit of input too, so.
They have quite a dramatic sort of effect on the rates too.
What's that?
If you change the boundaries.
That's what, with the district revaluation, so where you've got a rural, it could then become a residential. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right, so everybody's quite happy with that. Emma, thank you very much for your research with that and bringing out those papers, because that is very good reading. I thank you also for your tolerance with me with getting the vision put together.
Thank you.
Finalised. It's been a wee process, but it's been very important to us that we do get this right. I don't think we've had a vision like this before from council, and I think it's probably covering everybody's needs, expectations, and vision quite nicely. So thank you very much for your tolerance and your time and your effort and your input with that. It's greatly appreciated. So the purpose of Emma's report is to adopt the draft council vision and community outcomes for the long-term plan from 2024 to 2034. Can I please have a mover and seconder that we resolve that 1, the report be received, 2, that council adopts the draft vision and community outcomes in Appendix 1 for inclusion in the draft LTP 2024 through to 2034. Councillor Casson, thank you very much. Councillor Phelps, thank you very much. Thank you, Emma. Very good for your work. Thank you. Greatly appreciated. What are we now? 20 to 3. So we are on schedule. So, sorry?
It's confidential.
What's that? So with that, because we have got the citizenship ceremony at 3:15, we have got time to progress through to the public excluded part of the confidential part of the meeting. So can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Resolve that council move into the public excluded section of the meeting.
I'd like to mention that we did have a conversation earlier. I challenged the need to go to public excluded for Annette.
For what, sorry?
The race course.
We've got other matters in there to discuss in that section.
Right. Race course part we're not talking about. However, apparently there's been legal advice taken, but I do think it's to have it in the open as often as we can.
Yes, I didn't see anything that was commercially damaging in there that we could discuss publicly, but if the advice...
Well, I think Scott can answer that, if you wouldn't mind. Thank you, Scott, so we can...
So, yes, we all talked about this at work. And in terms of the content of it, there was nothing that we thought particularly challenging. However, the legal advice actually related to the when we go to commercial partnership. Effectively, you've got quite a tight fixed timeline between announcement and when you get the documents back. And what the lawyers said is, if we have this in public session, it gives people who have access to our papers a competitive advantage against someone. And should somebody be unsuccessful through the ROI process, who's not local, they may make a legal challenge that somebody had an advantage. And we just decided that probably on that basis, if you get legal advice and you ignore it and it comes back and bites you later, you've got difficulty.
I mean, I'm happy with it. It's just that it's quite good to just have this discussion while we're still in public so they can see why we're going this way. Because quite often it's just we're going into excluded. These are the reasons as per the LTA 2002, and it's not always that transparent. But,
yeah, no, I think it's a point well made, actually.
No, and thank you, Scott, for that explanation. So if we can go back to, can I have a mover and a seconder, please, and resolve that council move to the public excluded section of the meeting. Thank you, Councillor Collette. Councillor Davidson, thank you very much. We will adjourn the meeting for 2 minutes to allow the committee to disconnect from Zoom from the open section of the meeting and reconnect via the second Zoom invite for the public excluded section of the meeting. And Councillor Burden, you're staying with us?